Hello, my friend. It is so good to have you here today. I want you to imagine something. The free throw line, a white painted stripe on a hardwood floor. 500 feet from the basket, the simplest shot in basketball. No defenders, no pressure, no moving. Just a man, a ball, and 15 feet of air. Now imagine the biggest man who ever played professional basketball standing at that line, feet 1 inch tall. 5 pounds of pure muscle, a man who had shattered backboards with his dunks, a man who had made the greatest players in the world look like children, standing at that line and missing again and again. This is the greatest paradox in NBA history, the most physically dominant player who ever lived, undone by the smallest thing on the basketball court. But to understand the free throw, you first have to understand the man. And to understand the man, you have to go back to the beginning. This is the story of Shaquille O'Neal. Shaquille. Rashawn O'Neal was born on March 6, 1972, in Newark, New Jersey. His biological father was a man named Joseph Toney. Joseph Toney was in prison when Shaquille was born. He would never be a real presence in his son's life. Shaquille's mother, Lucille, raised him alone in the beginning. She was strong. She was loving. She was determined. But life in Newark in the early 1970s was not easy. The city was struggling. The streets were hard. A young black woman raising a son alone needed help. That help came in the form of a man named Philip Harrison. Philip Harrison was a U.S. Army sergeant. He was disciplined. He was strict. He was everything that the military teaches a man to be. He married Lucille, and he became the only father Shaquille ever truly knew. Philip Harrison did not raise his stepson gently. He raised him like a soldier. He pushed him. He demanded. He held standards that a young black boy found almost impossible to meet. When Shaquille made mistakes, Philip Harrison made sure he felt the weight of them. He told his stepson something that stayed with him for decades. He said, "You will never amount to anything." Those words entered a young black boy's heart, and they never fully left. The family moved constantly. That was the military life, base to base, city to city, state to state, Germany for a while, back to America, always packing, always leaving, always starting over in a new place where nobody knew his name. For most children, this would be devastating. For Shaquille, it became something else. It became armor. When you never fully belong anywhere, you stop needing to belong. You find your identity somewhere the moving cannot reach. For Shaquille, that place was basketball. He started playing in Germany on military base courts. He was already enormous for his age, but he was awkward. He was clumsy. He had not yet learned to control the body that God had given him. His coach on the military base was a man who recognized what was inside the awkwardness. He saw the potential beneath the stumbling. He worked with Shaquille. He pushed him not with criticism, but with belief. At 13 years old, Shaquille O'Neal met a man who would change his life. His name was Dale Brown. Dale Brown was the head coach of the Louisiana State University basketball team. He was visiting a military base in West Germany when he spotted an enormous young black teenager across the court. He walked over and introduced himself. He asked the boy how old he was. The boy told him 13. Dale Brown could not believe it. He was looking at a body that belonged to a grown man. He gave the boy his card. He told him to stay in touch, and Shaquille kept that card because for the first time in his life, someone with real power in the basketball world had looked at him and seen something worth looking at. The family eventually settled in San Antonio, Texas. Shaquille attended Robert G. Cole High School, and there on the basketball court, the awkward giant started to become something different. He was unstoppable, not because of skill, not because of footwork, because of physics. When Shaquille O'Neal moved toward the basket, there was no legal way to stop him. He was too big, too strong, too heavy. He averaged 32 points per game in his senior year. He was named the best high school player in the country, and he kept his promise to Dale Brown. He went to Louisiana State University. At LSU, Shaquille O'Neal became a phenomenon. He was not just dominant. He was terrifying. He dunked so hard that he shattered backboards, not once, multiple times. The NCAA had to change the rules. They installed breakaway rims specifically because of him. He averaged 27 points and 14 rebounds per game in his junior season. He won the Associated Press Player of the Year award. He was the most dominant college player anyone had ever seen. And in 1992, he declared for the NBA draft. The Orlando Magic held the first overall pick. They selected Shaquille O'Neal. Number 1, the whole draft. He arrived in Orlando with one goal: to be the best. Not one of the best, the best. He had heard his stepfather's voice his whole life. You will never amount to anything. He was going to answer that voice. One dunk at a time. His first NBA season was unlike anything the league had ever seen. He averaged 23 points and 13 rebounds per game. He was named Rookie of the Year. He was an all-star. He was already being called the most dominant center since Wilt Chamberlain. But there was one thing, one persistent, maddening, inexplicable thing: the free throw. Shaquille O'Neal could not shoot free throws. In a sport where the average player makes 75%, he made barely 50, sometimes less, and opponents figured this out very quickly. They developed a strategy. It was called Hack-a-Shaq. The idea was simple: foul Shaquille O'Neal deliberately, send him to the free throw line, make him beat you with a shot he could not make. It was legal. It was effective. It was humiliating. Here was the most powerful player in basketball being neutralized by the weakest part of his game. He worked on it. He hired coaches. He practiced thousands of free throws. He tried different techniques, granny shots, different release points. Everything. Nothing worked consistently. The free throw line remained the one place on the basketball court where Shaquille O'Neal was mortal. But here is the truth. The free throw could not stop what Shaquille O'Neal was becoming. In 1996, he left Orlando and signed with the Los Angeles Lakers. He was 24 years old. He was the most coveted free agent in basketball. The city of Los Angeles greeted him like a king. Phil Jackson arrived as head coach. The same Phil Jackson who had built the Chicago Bulls dynasty. He looked at Shaquille. He looked at a young Kobe Bryant, and he built a dynasty around the collision of those two planets. $1,000, Los Angeles Lakers, NBA champions. Shaquille O'Neal, Finals MVP. He averaged 38 points and 17 rebounds per game in the finals. Numbers that belong to science fiction. 1,001. Champions again. Finals MVP again. He averaged 33 points and 16 rebounds. 1-2. Champions again. Finals MVP again. 3 consecutive championships. 3 consecutive Finals MVP awards. The most dominant finals run in the history of professional basketball. The boy whose stepfather said he would never amount to anything was now the undisputed best player on the planet. But the dynasty cracked. The relationship between Shaquille and Kobe Bryant collapsed. 2 enormous egos on the same team. 2 men who both needed to be the center of the universe. It could not last. In 2004, Shaquille was traded to the Miami Heat. A new city, a new team, a new chapter, and in Miami, Shaquille O'Neal found one more championship, 2006. Miami Heat, NBA champions, 4 titles total, 4 Finals MVP awards, the most decorated center in the history of the NBA. But the free throw line was always there, waiting every playoff run, every big game, every moment when the championship was on the line. There was the free throw line, and there was Shaquille O'Neal, standing at it, bouncing the ball, missing. Years later, someone asked him about it. They asked him if it bothered him. He thought for a moment, and then he said something honest. He said, "I made $4 billion. I won 4 championships. I was Finals MVP 4 times. And you want to ask me about free throws?" He laughed when he said it, but underneath the laugh was a truth. The free throw was the one thing he could not conquer, the one wall he could never fully climb, and maybe that is what makes him human. Maybe that is what makes his story complete, my friend. Shaquille O'Neal was abandoned before he was born. He was told by his own father figure that he would never amount to anything. He spent his entire childhood moving from place to place, never belonging anywhere, and he carried all of that into every game, every dunk, every championship. He did not conquer those words by forgetting them. He conquered them by playing through them. Every time he stepped onto a basketball court, he was answering the voice that said he was nothing, and the free throw. The one thing he could never fix. Maybe it was never the point, because in every other way, in every measurement that mattered, Shaquille O'Neal was everything. He was a 4-time champion. He was a 4-time Finals MVP. He was a father. He earned a doctorate degree. He became a police officer. He built a business empire. He made people laugh. He made people feel less alone. The free throw line could not define him because the rest of his life already had. And you, my friend, maybe you have your own free throw line tonight. The one thing you cannot fix, the one weakness that everyone can see. The thing that makes you feel like you are standing still while the world moves past you. But here is what Shaquille O'Neal showed us. You do not have to be perfect everywhere. You have to be dominant somewhere. Find the place where you are unstoppable. Go there every single day. The rest will take care of itself. Thank you for spending this time with me today, my friend. If this story moved you, leave a comment below. Tell me which moment stayed with you the most. Was it the boy on the military base who no one knew, the man who shattered backboards, or the champion who answered 4 words with 4 rings? I read every single word you write. Until next time, take care of yourself, and when the night falls, come back.